All right, I'll officially call the meeting to order. The rule on masks is whatever you're comfortable with. We sit so closely together up here that some of my colleagues have asked if we could all wear masks up here, but whatever you're comfortable with in the audience is fine with us. If everyone can please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Some announcements. First one is that there's going to be a special meeting of the Village Board of Trustees this Wednesday, September 21st at 7 p.m. And that is basically to present the study on the firehouse enhancements. It's been going on for how long, Larry? The study, about 9 months, something like that?
Well, the study itself, yeah, but
the project
dates back to 2009,
exactly,
probably, yeah.
But the newest study,
Yeah.
and basically we're all going to hear the findings for the first time on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So an important community discussion for sure, because it's going to really change that whole part of Main Street potentially. Next, checks over $25,000. We had two. One for those guys landscaping for curb sidewalk replacement on South Broadway. That's from the general fund and a grant, and that was $41,998.45. Another one for Carl Dibble, DPW complex flood damage. That was from general fund reimbursed by FEMA for $29,375. The last one is Rocktoberfest is back after a 2-year absence. It also coincides with our 150th anniversary. That is this Saturday, starting at noon and going to 10 o'clock. Since we are having our 150th anniversary celebration, there's also going to be fireworks in addition to kind of the regular stuff we have, which I believe is 6 bands, food and beer truck, food trucks. I think there's at least a dozen now. A beer truck, wine will be sold. There's also going to be a children's play area with bouncy castles and that kind of stuff. And then fireworks at around 8 o'clock. And lastly, there's also the Recreation Department's selling 150th anniversary mugs. They're tankards, tankards. Might be overstating a little bit with tankards, but there's only 150 of them are made, and they're on sale, I believe, for $50 at the rec center. You can bring them to Rocktoberfest if you want, or you can just bring them home. It's a collectible. All the proceeds, all the net proceeds from both Rocktoberfest and the mugs obviously goes to the FACE Committee, which supports things like the annual fireworks, the senior programming, scholarships for underprivileged families to go to day camp, those types of things. So all the little nice things that probably shouldn't come out of the village budget is what they're here to support. Any other announcements from you guys?
No, I would just add that I think they're always looking for volunteers to help out. I believe there are some shifts, I think probably starting at 12. I think it's something like 12 to 35 and 8, something like that, or 7:30. Maria Kashkin, and I don't know if I have a contact for her. I would tell you to reach out to Joe Archino with Rec if you can help, and there's a number of things that people can do to help out. Thanks.
Now all we need is good weather, and it'll be a great day. Correspondence, we only had one piece of correspondence before the meeting, and that was from PJ, which we'll just hold over to the public hearing. So we'll have public comment that isn't related to the public hearing or any of the agenda items. If there's any other public comments. If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Either of you two gentlemen have any questions on the consent agenda?
No.
We still haven't heard from Mark or Eileen, right?
No.
And they're not online?
No.
Okay. So I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda, if I can have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So now I will make a motion to open the public hearing to consider a local law amending the zoning code with respect to development of the multifamily office district. So Mary Ann, if you wanted to give us the overview of what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah. As I explained to the board and to the public last month, this set of amendments to the zoning code addresses several issues that came to light when the regulations for the new multifamily office district were applied to an actual potential development. Often zoning amendments of this magnitude are crafted in response to an application by a developer. So there's a particular project that provides the test case. For the MFO district, however, the board drafted zoning regulations for the district it wanted to see, essentially in the abstract. It was a challenge to come up with regulations that both address the board's, the goals of the board and the comp plan update, and that resulted in projects that a property owner or developer could actually achieve. It turns out that the board did a pretty good job and didn't attract a developer for multifamily housing, but in the course of reviewing the project, the board came to realize that the regulations had to be clarified and tweaked in a couple of respects, and that's what this amendment addresses. The amendment contains essentially 3 changes. The first of these has to do with the calculation of site capacity. This isn't so much a change as it is clarifying or filling in a gap. The site capacity regulations were drafted with single-family houses in mind, actually Legend Hollow to be specific, not multifamily developments. That's not to say they didn't apply to all residential districts, including multifamily. It's just that the formula was developed with single-family dwellings in mind. The site capacity formula provides that in determining base site area, which will be the basis of how many units you're going to find under your site capacity, you subtract land on which roads are to be built as part of the development of the site. But you don't subtract the area of driveways serving no more than 3 single-family dwellings. There's no provision for driveways leading to multifamily buildings. And what the first section of this amendment does is it provides, in calculating the base site area in the MFO district, the land on which any driveway is to be built that leads directly to a 3 or more family dwelling or parking area serving the dwelling shall not be deducted from gross site area. The thinking is that the driveway is equivalent to the individual driveways to single-family homes. The proposal that recently came before the village is the first multifamily development to be proposed since the site capacity provisions were adopted in 1989. So this question never arose before. You should understand that this change is not going to change the site capacity of the project that's currently being considered. That was how it was calculated. This is how the building department interpreted how the deduction should be made for multifamily dwellings. And this was a perfectly fair interpretation. This just makes it a little bit clearer in the actual statutory language. The letter from Mr. McCallick mistakenly refers to the Marker Ridge development approved by the village in 2016 to say it was done differently, but this wasn't an MF development. Marker Ridge was a development of attached single-family homes. The developer at all times referred, there was a like rectangular road in the middle of it, and all the houses, the townhouses were all off of that. Throughout the process, from the very beginning, the developer referred to this as a road. It actually has a name, Marker Ridge Road, and all of the houses along it those are their addresses: 2 Marker Ridge, 3 Marker Ridge, up to 30 Marker Ridge. While the area of that Marker Ridge Road was subtracted in determining base site area, the driveways from the road to the individual townhouses. So we've always been consistent in not including driveways. So that's the first change, clarification, I guess is a better way to put it. The second change in the amendment corrects an oversight having to do with improvements to Strawberry Lane. The regulations require that any development that's going to have access or egress from Strawberry Lane has to improve Strawberry Lane from Broadway to that point of access or egress. The board However, the board did not want to penalize the property owner for making improvements that might require using part of its property. So it included a provision, this is in the code now, that reads, the lot area required for any necessary improvements of Strawberry Lane shall not be subtracted from the net buildable site area for purposes of determining building and lot coverage. The board's intention was that it not be subtracted for purposes of site capacity as well, but that exclusion wasn't included in the site capacity regulations. There's two really, these amendments included two sets of stuff, mainly in the MFO district, but there were a few changes that had to be made to the site capacity regulations that was overlooked. So this part of the amendment corrects that and adds the following to the site capacity section. Additionally, the lot area required for any necessary improvements of Strawberry Lane shall not be subtracted from gross site area. So that's the second change. Okay, then the third part of the amendment, which is in section 2, changes how height is measured in the MFO district. Right now, height's measured in the Irvington Code by measuring from the lowest point of a building to the highest point, no matter how sloped the land it's on might be. It's an unusual, it's seen, but a fairly unusual measurement provision, and it generally works for single-family houses. But for multifamily business buildings, which are generally much longer and wider, it doesn't work if the building's on sloped land. Larry, is it possible to put up the second page of the amendment, because it's got the sketch of what I'm talking about? We actually put a sketch of the measurement in the code because it would so be a little bit easier to understand.
It's going to be a minute.
Pardon?
It's going to be a minute.
Okay. I think it's probably worth waiting for.
Okay. You got it.
Oh, while he's looking for that, let me just explain what the thing measuring point is, because you'll see that something refers to the lowest elevation of either the finished grade or the grade prior to construction, filling, or grading, the measuring point. That's not a change in that's in the code right now. You always measure, because you wouldn't want somebody the land to be, let's say, at this level, and then they build up 4 feet of earth and then say, this is where the building is. The building's this high. So it's whichever is lower to be what you're before you start construction. And you'll see why that's relevant. Sorry, Larry, I shouldn't have told you.
No, it's all right. It's okay. It's not my computer, so it's a problem. I can't bring it up.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
No. Maybe. Hold on. Let me just see.
You know what? It's
No. Wait. Hold on. There we go.
Okay. So if you took that drawing and you take the lowest point, you're going to measure height by the lowest point. You take that lowest point, run it way over to the right, and you can go up either 25 feet or 35 feet, depending on where you are. Closer to Broadway, you can only go up 25 feet. Further back, you can go 35 feet. So if you go all the way over there to the right, the building could be maybe 5 or 10 feet high. So it doesn't work when you've got a long building on a steep slope. There are often ways around it, like putting on a flat roof or locating the building somewhere else on the lot, but it doesn't always result in the best layout for environmental reasons or aesthetic reasons. And what this amendment does is permit the building to follow the slope of the land. So the height, this is how it reads. The height should be measured at the periphery of the building where the building meets grade. That would be the red dotted line. At any given point where the building meets grade, the height shall be measured from the lowest elevation of either the finished grade or the grade prior to construction, the measuring point, that's what I was talking about, to the highest point of the building. The height shall be measured vertically from the measuring point to an imaginary point located at the allowed number of feet above the measuring point. So this is why there's a diagram. I know that language isn't so easy to understand, but if you look at the diagram, I think it makes sense. And then the amendment includes one other provision that says that, because in this district, below-grade parking is allowed, and you would have to go deep down to get into the below-grade parking. If that becomes your measuring point, I mean, you couldn't build anything. So that changes is at-grade driveways for accessing underground parking shall not be included when measuring building height, provided the driveway is 30 feet or less in width, or the minimum width needed for access, whichever is less. And then you'll draw a straight line from the 2 points at grade adjacent to the driveway to form an imaginary line of grade from which the building will be measured. This height change is something the village might want to consider applying village-wide, but we'd have to do a study of how it affects all the other districts first, which would really be something you might want to do, but it's going to take a big study before you can do that. In this district, we can see how it's going to affect it. So, I don't know if you have any questions, but.
On the height piece or in general?
Pardon?
On any of it or the height piece? I mean, I think the height piece is something that I have heard from architects and things about, like, why is Irvington different? Why do we have that?
Yeah.
And I think, it's also something that typically they go and get, kind of zoning board approval for if it's 36 feet, But yeah, I think another important thing is that we're not saying that you can build, 60-foot buildings. It's still 35 or 25, depending on where it is.
It's just
And I
the
think
easiest way to understand it is it follows the slope.
Yeah, and I think the reason we thought this was important was because if you don't have it, basically you're going to the only architectural design you could possibly have is kind of barracks that would be this way. So it gives a lot more flexibility to have something that's aesthetically potentially more pleasing. Some comments?
We talked about it extensively.
What?
We talked about it extensively. I don't
Oh,
remember.
sorry, I didn't hear what
That's
you
weird.
said.
That's okay. I'm just trying to see if I can find Mark. He still didn't log in, right?
No.
Didn't you say he was going to be traveling?
I heard
He
you.
Oh,
might
that's
be-
right. He said he's in the
That he
car.
might be in his car.
Yeah, he said he might be.
Oh, yeah, right.
I just realized that.
Then he shouldn't be texting.
Yeah, because we were talking about,
He said he's the passenger.
right.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this is he's good at this stuff. So, but if we don't have any other questions or comments at this time, I'd be open up to the public. We do have 3 pieces of correspondence, but if someone's here to talk about it, I'll let them talk about it if they prefer. Otherwise, I'll read it. So if anybody wants to speak first.
Hi, my name's Nancy Adler. I live at,
Look on the mic, it's really very hard to hear. Right here.
let me see if it's on. Can you hear?
It's on.
It's not on.
It's on.
The microphone's for the broadcast, not so much for the room, so.
Oh, okay, I can speak louder. I have a really loud voice. Okay. I'm Nancy Adler. I live at 91 Riverview Road, and I've lived there for about 37, almost 38 years. I wanted to research why our present Board of Trustees have blatantly and with a little transparency, I feel, changed the zoning of our historic North Broadway corridor during COVID. And now we are trying to change it again to satisfy the Wilder-Walter demands. These changes will permanently and negatively alter the unique historic appearance of this small section of Irvington. I went to our Irvington Village website for all the information that I would need to answer this. However, what I found was what I had always assumed our village board's purpose was. That is to protect our village and its residents through its decisions. I found code changes such as the Village Code Chapter 224, Section 2248B, which had to do with in-law apartments. It had several requirements, and one of them was no exterior changes that alter the character or appearance of a neighborhood. Okay, and for accessory apartments, there was Article 31, Section 224201, that said no exterior changes that affect the character or appearance of the neighborhood. Then I found from 2018 a safety report for Broadway, which actually was for Broadway from Sleepy Hollow all the way down to Hastings. And there were implementation plans that Sleepy Hollow has fulfilled, Hastings has fulfilled, Tarrytown is in the process of doing. Things like sidewalks on both sides, bike lanes, things to slow down traffic. Irvington has not taken those measures. Peter was kind enough to put a photograph of traffic on Broadway. On this very report, they showed a bus stop that's near the apartments at 120, 140 North Broadway, where people have this much room to stand with a stone wall behind them and traffic whizzing by them, and the bus stop is there. It's not safe for pedestrians or anybody. So then I was looking at our housing committee. We have a housing committee in Irvington, and their purpose was to assist in the identification and development of potential sites for affordable housing that preserve the character of the village. This is the wording straight from our village website.
One quick thing, Nancy. I just want to remind everyone, try to keep it to 3 minutes. You can always-
I'm almost done. I'm
Okay,
almost done. This project does not protect the character of the village, where it is projected to be built because of its size. It will increase traffic on Broadway, Strawberry Lane, Circle Drive, Riverview Road, which are already unsafe to walk on or to drive on. And it has not been shown by the village or the builder to be so beneficial as planned to warrant the destruction of a bucolic lane and to create a visual eyesore on our historically important North Broadway corridor. It does affect the character and the appearance of the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Nancy. Who's next?
PJ McCallick, 11 Strawberry Lane. I just wanted to touch on something that Nancy mentioned, which is the character of the neighborhood. That's basically boilerplate language in virtually every section of the zoning code. It's certainly part of the variance analysis. And so my question for the village attorney is, why isn't a variance the proper procedure here, or a petition? That is the application process that you mentioned earlier. Why are we doing this instead, basically just with a couple of emails in the background?
A variance for what?
Site capacity determinations have had variances for 33 years. Why is that not allowed now?
Because there's no variance required.
And why is that?
Because there's not. It met the definition was applied and it came up with a certain site capacity, and that's what the site capacity is.
No, I'm sorry, but Mayor,
I don't think this back and forth. I'm not supposed to.
back and forth, we're just starting here.
No, but a dialogue. I don't think that you should have
You
an.
can address the board.
Whoa, we're the citizens here.
Yeah.
You work for us. Keep that in mind.
But you
But
also
also
counsel.
Guys, I gotta
You
say,
have to answer the question.
guys, we don't have to all be yelling at each other. We're here for a discussion.
She started it, and she's
Hey,
supposed to be a professional.
If you're not at the mic, please don't yell out like that. It just doesn't move things along. PJ, would you like to continue?
Thank you.
Just so you know, I had someone text me, at home they can hear great through that microphone. So I know it's not, Larry said it's not meant for the room, right? But people at home are hearing it just fine through the microphone.
My point is simply that all of us understand what it's like to have a land use in mind that is inconsistent with the current regulations. And the process for that we all follow is a variance. And if you're really ambitious, you can get a petition going, as the contract vendees of 30 South Broadway did back in 2015, right? They came to the board and they sought a rezoning of the fee property, 30 South Broadway. And the zoning was amended based on that application that showed among other things, that the area of the road was deducted from the gross site area. Right, that's where the references to David Steinmetz and Pat Nattarelli come in, right? These are no slouches when it comes to land use law. Could you just clarify, village attorney, did you object to that interpretation of the village law site capacity determination back in 2016?
I mean, I actually think that it's one of the reasons we spent 2 years rezoning this was because we didn't want to have someone come in and just ask us to zone it for a particular builder. So I think we tried a different approach. We didn't necessarily want a builder to come in and tell us exactly what they wanted and then us to change the zoning. We wanted to kind of come up with our vision of what we thought the property should be used for, rezone that, and then have them come in and not have to ask for variances. That was kind of our whole.
That's perfectly obvious, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to point out that what you lose by stepping around that process is an applicant who actually has to come in and explain to everyone what is the rationale for the choice, right? They actually have to be accountable for the choices that they're arguing for, right? That's not happening here, right? If not for the fact that some random emails became available, we would have no idea that it was a developer that was behind this.
Well, see, I actually think even if I read the email, this is not exactly what I say. Same thing when I talked to several people on Strawberry Lane. I took their input and we worked with them on it. But this isn't exactly what the builder didn't ask us exactly to rezone it this way. This is what we think. See, I don't know if they're going to continue or not, because this particular builder doesn't like feedback from neighborhoods. They don't want to be neighborhoods that they're not welcome in. So in my gut, and this is probably the first time I've said this publicly, I think they're going to walk away. And congratulations to all of you that don't want affordable housing. It's probably not going to happen. But we actually think that to have any kind of development there, you have to make these changes. So to me, I'm not looking at this as to make Walter Builder be able to build this thing here. To have anything that's kind of viable that isn't kind of an eyesore, I think you need these changes. That's my opinion on why we're making these, not because they've asked us to make these changes.
Again, any hardship that has to do with the land, that's covered by variance analysis. That's a 75-year-old tradition here in Irvington. Right, that's what you just referred to it not that long ago, Mr. Mayor. And I mean this in all sincerity. You talked about how people have to hire a lawyer for $5,000 just to have a shed built into the setback, right?
Correct. So I changed that, so they don't have to do that.
I understand, right? But I'm saying we are in this, the default rule here in Irvington is that if you don't like something, you have to go to the zoning board and get a variance.
No,
right?
I would say that if you don't do things as of right.
How many people actually get to have the clout to have the law changed just for their benefit?
But see, that's why I really disagree with your perception of why we're changing this. We're changing this so any future builder can change it. Same thing with the sheds. No one came to me and said, hey, I can't redo my shed, and so change the law. We saw that as an issue that's recurring in the zoning, and we changed it. Same thing with this. We're saying basically, you know what, if we have, well, it's not true. We could leave it at, say, 35 in the lowest spot, but you're going to have what we kind of understand to be very unattractive buildings that are going to be really ruin the actual view sheds. So that's why we looked at that. Then with the driveway, we went to the building department and said, how would you interpret this right now? And he said, I interpret it as it doesn't apply. It's not a road. So that's we said, okay, well, if that's how you would interpret this, then why don't we just make it very clear? That's kind of how it happened. Not someone said, hey, I want to build something. Can you change it for me?
Are you aware that very question about whether a driveway is a road is set to be in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals on the 27th?
I did. I've heard that's happened.
Okay, so in other words, let's just, I don't mean to be facetious here, okay, but Irvington's 5 sharpest legal minds, all handpicked by you, the cream of Irvington society, basically, are all set to decide this question based on their years of experience interpreting the code. And you can't wait for them to make that decision. This has to be done right now.
Well, I don't think it's being done right now, but we're talking about it right now.
Why not defer to the ZBA? This is their job.
Well, their job is not to legislate. Their job is to interpret.
Exactly.
So exactly. So if we say, if we have.
What does the building inspector has seen maybe 1 or 2 determinations a year at most, okay?
We feel that you shouldn't, because this hasn't, you're right, it doesn't come up a lot in the multifamily. So we feel that we want to, as the elected board, say we want to not count it. We want to have it not count against coverage. So
Okay.
that's why we're doing it.
Good. Who gets the credit for that decision, by the way? Is that you?
I don't know who gets credit. I don't know what that means.
Well, I just think that whoever made that decision, and I mean this respectfully, I think that person owes WBP an apology because they have completely misread the constituents of Irvington, certainly of that neighborhood. I mean, for one thing, if this actually passes, it would be appealed. And that with the 4-month statute of limitations, we're talking about a year of just wasting everyone's time. Right? On top, and I'm sorry, just one other thing is that as trustees, I feel like one of your jobs is to have consideration for other people's time, right? In fact, you could arguably say you have a fiduciary duty to take care of other people's resources, and that includes their time, okay? And so why is the brain power of Irvington's residents in that area focused on whether a road or whether a driveway is a road, right? I mean, like, honestly, like, I think we trust you to have a handle on that without any input from the developer. You know, it just seems like it's a waste of everyone's time. And the last thing I'm going to say is that this is a 708 petition that's requiring a supermajority to pass this.
You know,
See Brenda around.
you give it to Larry, yeah.
Thank you.
Who'd like to speak next? Mary Ann?
Yeah, I just wanted, because as he went on, I understand a little bit more what he was getting at. And I thought I explained this clearly, but this is not a situation like 3040 South Broadway, which is a single-family development. It's attached single-family townhouses. So it was clear what the law was there. And it was clear to the building department when it applied the law there, and it subtracted the road because it was not merely a driveway, it was a road. When the building department looked at this, it did not subtract the driveway because it was a driveway. And then the base site area came to whatever it was, and then divided by the 3,000 came to a certain number. So it came to whatever number it came up with, and a variance was not required. It isn't like they found you could have 50, I forget what the number was, 55 units, and they said, no, we really want 57. And then, yes, then you'd get a variance, but that wasn't the situation here. So it was just the building department applying the law in the way that made the most sense.
Who'd like to speak next?
I'll just tip it down.
Very, very rock and roll.
Yeah. No, that would be the other way.
Just how you finish.
So, yeah, I don't want to hold the mic though. So that was a tough act to follow, but I'll give it a good shot here. So my name is Glenn Cashin. I'm at 81 North Broadway, right across the street from the development. And let me just start off by saying, apropos to what you said earlier, Mr. Mayor, that if Wilder Walter doesn't like to be in neighborhoods where they're not welcome, let me just tell them directly that they're not welcome here. So in an article in the Hudson Independent, Barrett Seaman writes that the Irvington Board of Trustees decided not to pursue an acquisition of Strawberry Lane. Mr. Seaman continues, in a statement emailed Labor Day, the board explained that as part of the legislative process, they had listened to homeowners along Strawberry Lane, other village residents, the village attorney, and representatives of Wilder Balter Properties, the developer of the proposed multifamily housing project, and concluded that there were too many obstacles, most notably the opposition by residents of the lane to justify the effort. Mr. Seaman went on to quote Mayor Smith, "A lot of the reason is just the Irvington neighbors saying they didn't want us to do it. So why go through an organized, angry fight? Mayor Smith, directors, opposition by the neighbors seemed to weigh heavily on the board's decision to drop the idea to acquire Strawberry Lane. The same neighbors protested strongly against this MFO zoning change in the first place. You're now faced with stiff opposition by these same neighbors to increase density as allowed by the current law. I ask that you hold the line on the current density calculation and that you heed our request as neighbors to not change the law. Thank you.
Who'd like to speak next?
Just going back to something you said earlier about the residents of Strawberry Lane being. I'm Luke Jorger. I'm a resident of 11 Strawberry Lane. Just going back to what you said earlier about the residents being against affordable housing, I think that's unfair. That's absolutely not the issue here. So to clarify, this is a much bigger situation going on here. It's about construction. It's about the trucks. It's about the blasting out the hill. It's about the nature. It's about the walking down Strawberry Lane and looking at the incredible Irvington sunset. There's so much more going on here, and I don't think anyone here is against affordable housing. And considering that the project is now, a fraction of affordable housing, really shows us that that is not the case.
Right now,
According to what I've heard.
it's 55 units of affordable housing, 55 units total, is what the last proposal we've heard.
We heard it was a much lower percentage, so.
Now it's 100% so far.
No, it's never changed.
I've just never changed once. That's the.
Okay. I still go by what I said about this group is definitely not. I mean, God knows Irvington needs diversity, but
But I think
this
the
is
problem
not.
is to have affordable housing, make it, to buy a $4 million piece of property, you can't put up like 10 affordable units. You have to put in 45, 50 affordable units. That's how the math works. So-
Okay. I'm sorry, I might be behind the times on that. I'm sorry.
No worries. I mean, someone could do it if they wanted to spend, they have unlimited money, but to use federal money to build affordable housing, it's very hard to make your case unless it's more dense, which is why we had to make it more dense, make it multifamily. Who else does?
We have a comment online also, if
Okay.
you're ready.
Oh, wait, we have one more person.
Okay.
We'll go before.
Joy Gowdy,
People that show up,
119
we'll let
North
them-
Broadway. I am the owner of affordable housing in Irvington. I live across the street from affordable housing in Irvington. There has been a myth that was perpetrated by this board during COVID when residents couldn't come and look you in the eye that there is no affordable housing in Irvington. I know, and I did the statistics, there is a lot of affordable housing. Up and down these streets, there are apartment buildings and they're all affordable. 120, 140, they are all affordable. So I don't understand what's going on, who's got whose hand in whose pocket, but something's going on here because there's plenty, and it was completely ignored, the statistics I sent with all the affordable housing units in this town.
The co-ops don't count because often you need 50% down, and that's just not considered affordable.
What about all the apartment buildings? I have an affordable housing apartment building, and I know up and down my street, there's affordable housing. You ignored that. So don't look me in the eye and pretend otherwise. I'm very tired of this board ignoring the citizens for years and years and years and hiding behind COVID to sneak things through.
Okay, whatever. Who's next?
I have one comment I'd like to make.
Tony Altamura. I live on One Meadowbrook Road. We've lived there for over 30 years. Just in response to your comment that in order for a developer to be able to build an affordable housing project on a piece of property that he has to purchase for $4 million, he needs a certain amount of density. Well, it's not your job to make a transaction economically feasible for a developer. If the property doesn't work at $4 million, then maybe the developer has to go back and renegotiate the deal with the person selling the property. Maybe there has to be a reduction in the price. Maybe there has to be another deal structured, a joint venture with the owner that where he contributes the property and shares in the profits or the economics, but just saying, well, you know, we have to preserve a $4 million purchase price for a seller makes no sense to me at all. I don't understand why you would even suggest that that's part of the analysis here. I mean, it's, if you can't sell it because that's not the market value, you know, so be it. So I don't think we should be thinking about this in terms of, well, in order for this to succeed, we have to allow a certain amount of density because he's buying land for $4 million and he's stuck otherwise. It's just the way I see it.
Thank you. My name is Boaz Rubenstein. We live in 17 Strawberry Lane, and we've been residents of Irvington since 1994. We do not oppose affordable housing. What we are concerned about is the scale of this project. This project will dramatically, with this amount of units, will dramatically change our quality of life for the worse and make our lives, sorry to say this, unbearable. The traffic will be impossible to negotiate. Even now, when I leave my driveway and go through Broadway, sometimes I have to wait 2 or 3 minutes, sometimes even more, in order to be able to turn. Sometimes when I go running on the aqueduct or take my dog for a walk, I have to wait 5 minutes if I don't want to get killed by some of the whizzing cars. Having 50 plus units, plus children working in the mornings, going to school, is an accident waiting to happen. We are going to see difficult things there. Now, construction for the next 3 or 5 years, the noise pollution generating by this construction is going to be amazing. Trucks, blasting, construction is going to make it very difficult. We vehemently oppose the building of this many units in North Broadway site for all those reasons. It will destroy the character of course, Strawberry Lane, because we are in front of it, but also will radically diminish the quality of life of the residents of Irvington. Thank you.
David Rubin, 55 Circle Drive. I think this gentleman, Boris, really said most of what I wanted to say, but I'll just add a couple of small things, which are that, first of all, the effect on the school district is going to be significant. The last thing the school district needs is another set of dozens of students that they're not really prepared for. And in addition, this is a discussion of site capacity, as that's my understanding. I don't really understand why the site capacity designations that exist currently need to be changed under any circumstance, unless there's a really, really good reason. Private development, in my opinion, is not a reason for changing, to making big changes in site development. There was one other thing that I wanted to say, which now escapes me, but the traffic issue is absolutely huge. I mean, I'm sure you guys know, Mayor, I'm sure you know what happens every morning when the school is in session trying to get across and around on Broadway. I mean, this will only make it way, 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 way worse. The other thing that I wanted to mention, now I remember, is if under other circumstances, we wind up doing something along these lines where some sort of housing is built, I think it's imperative that in any agreement, there's value to the community. And what value to the community means to me is that the developer has to put up community accessible facilities, swimming pools, tennis courts, pickleball courts, all that stuff, or that kind of stuff needs to be integrated into any plan to make it have any value or justification for us as a residents.
Scott Edwards, 91 North Broadway. I came here to learn tonight. I didn't know a lot about this project before I came here. Right across the street directly affects me. And also all my neighbors here who I'm meeting tonight. We recently came here 8 years ago. We'll call it recent compared to other people that were here. One of the things that brought us to Irvington, because we could have moved anywhere in the river towns, anywhere in Mid-County, was the character of Irvington. That's why we came here. This woman right here, I believe her name was Nicole Adler. She spoke to, I'm sorry? Nancy. Like I said, just met you all tonight. Really spoke to me because I forget the exact word she used, but throughout the building code is about the character of this village. That's why we came here. That's what I'd like to preserve. Mr. Altamura made another good point about the economics. If it doesn't work the way that it is, those are market forces. Those exist. And I just don't understand why these changes are being made when you thought about all these things and all these things were directly within there. I heard the village attorney say multifamily, the driveway with 3 or more, leading to 3 or more units. These things were considered. To the extent that they should be changed, we can have a conversation about that, which I guess we're doing today. But it seems to me that these things were considered, and part of what was considered was the character of the village. And I'd just like to maintain that. And the gentleman before me brought up traffic. That was my other main point. Broadway, we see it every day. My wife takes my son to school every day. I think we could walk there faster than we drive every morning. However, there's a hill. I've lost that argument. So I think that the density is a really important issue, and to consider changing that, there's a lot of things that need to be considered. The traffic, the character of the village, and I really hope that you guys consider that when you start to make your decisions. That's it.
I'll just comment on 2 quick things while you get up the mic. One is that we're not, tonight's, the amendments to the code that we're currently talking about are not really talking about changing density. With the one exception is if you say that, the difference between a driveway and a road, which we also would contend that that's not a change because that's the way it's been interpreted. We're just we're making it black and white. The height thing, to me, that doesn't change the number of units or density really. So it's, most of the density discussions were what happened over the 2-year period that we kind of talked about the multifamily zoning change. The traffic to me is still a huge issue, and it's incumbent. One of the main things in the zoning is that it can increase traffic. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how, if you have 1 unit or 55 units, you can do that, but that's something that's incumbent upon the developer to convince the planning board. And unless they have, some really interesting plan about, I don't know, shuttle buses or something, or everyone's going to walk, which I don't know how you enforce that. I don't know how you get around that hurdle either, to be honest. So I live on Riverview Road. So often when I want to go left, I now go to the train earlier in the morning because I can't make a left when school's open, or I just go early. I always have to go right and go down Fargo Lane. And, so the traffic to me is not like an unknown. It's a known factor right now. And I think we were all very aware of that. And one thing I'll talk about the character. One of the things we talked about from when we started the rezoning process, actually before that, during the comprehensive plan discussions, was the character. And it's when you come into Irvington, one of the first things is that big expansive lawn. It's just kind of open, has an open feeling, even though it's fairly dense. I mean, obviously those multifamily homes there are it's about as dense as you possibly can be, and it's 6 feet off of Broadway. But then it opens up and it kind of gives you that feeling, and you're in Irvington. We wanted to preserve that, which is why we have a 250-foot setback, which is, no developer likes that for sure, because it's so far back but that to us was one of the main things about preserving the character and that open space there. So that is important to us. So, but those are all things we definitely have considered through this process. We are here to talk and listen tonight.
Great, thank you. David Osborne, 93 North Broadway. My wife and I have lived there since 2009. First, I just want to say I don't envy you the position you're in, managing multiple constituencies, especially on an issue like this. So you have my respect for that. I think the distinction between, speaking to density in particular, I think the distinction between driveways and roads is kind of, creative distinction, because you can't really have it's not a distinction when you're talking about a road having to access multiple single-family structures with a certain population. And then if you've got a multi-family unit with a huge population, it's by definition not going to be a road. So you should not include that square footage in the calculation for the gross site area. It's clear to me. I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole list of, semantics, et cetera, but it's a sort of de facto calculation that you're doing to justify something that was proposed. And especially if you're talking about the possibility that another developer is going to come in, I don't think we should be doing anything that's going to increase the potential density of the development for this Wilder, Balta, or anybody else who's coming in here. And for all the reasons that all my neighbors have cited. I mean, traffic is an issue. That's why I don't envy you this problem. You clearly need something to go in there. We'd be happy with, a bunch of big single-family homes, which would minimize the traffic. But, something's going to happen, but it should not be any denser than the current regulations already in place permit. So thank you very much.
Please.
I'm going to talk from here because the
Someone-
microphone is not really.
Okay, under the mic.
Just so we can hand it down. Just so I can hear you at home.
Oh, okay. I just want to talk on behalf of the people that would populate the affordable housing. And I'm a rabbi. I'm very aware that we need to provide, and I'm aware that there are state regulations that you have to comply with. But I don't see how a communist 1950s building, the way it looks, is going to really benefit the environment of the Irvington look, of the Irvington town. The building is terrible. The building is ugly. Is this how you dignify? Is this how you dignify the people that are coming to live in Irvington? They deserve better. They deserve beautiful buildings. They deserve beauty. They deserve to enjoy the character of Irvington town, not that kind of building that we were offered. And actually, I think of the children inviting other children to their home. They should be proud of it. They should not be the different ones, the ones that live in the ugly house. So I think that if you are so concerned about the population and the look and the benefit, right? The town and your population that elected you, I think you have to think better, right? On both sides. Our side, which is actually this has been a very painful thing for us to live through. And the side of the people that may come to live in Irvington. Thank you.
I will say in the appearance of the building, that was a thoroughly conceptual design, and there'd be a lot of changes from this point through the building process for sure. Please.
We're not building it.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to sound as smart as all these other people. I just have kind of, by my perception, I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'm Natalia Broiden, 93 North Broadway. I'm wife, so we live in the same house with the same problem. It's impossible to make left turn on Broadway in the middle of the day or before 7 o'clock, ever. Impossible. I just wanted to say that we watched on video when first this development was approved. It seems to be at least 90% of the people were against it. You stated that you changed the opinion about Strawberry Lane because you listened to the citizens of Strawberry Lane, that they're all opposed to condemnation. And it seems to be, I have represented every single house that will have to leave across the street from that development that you guys trying to develop. You need to listen to us. You don't have even one house that supports it. You are our representative. So like that.
Hi, Stephanie Fable, Strawberry Lane also. I want to thank the mayor and the Board of Trustees for the procedural fairness that you showed with not condemning Strawberry Lane. So thank you very much for that. It's very much appreciated. And I hope you show that same fairness when you're thinking about site capacity. You know, it was very disheartening to me when we uncovered the FOIL request, because the way that it reads, and again, we don't know the motives back and forth, but the way that it reads is, it looks like Irvington is going to be the type of town that allows a for-profit developer to dictate our policies. And that's not a town that I want to live in. I mean, I grew up here, I went to elementary school here all the way through, through now. And, as far as what you were saying with the site capacity and the roads, to me, it reads like it's, double dipping. You can't use that same, plot of lands for both a road and a buildable site. It just doesn't seem just or fair. So I would, again, hope that you would consider, and when you do come to a vote on this, you would vote no on that. And I was also pretty disheartened about the comments or misinformation that was said at the last meeting by the village attorney. Attorneys are held at a higher standard than the rest of us, and if you're not sure, it should be verified, and we shouldn't have to fact check what's being said. I feel like we deserve better than that. Thank you.
I don't really know what the fact checking was.
That's right through here. I responded to all of that when I spoke.
And that's the fact check on the bottom. Like, if you just,
Right.
you want a village attorney that's trustworthy, and I don't feel that you're trustworthy.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry.
Listen, I've got to say, let's keep this as civil as we can. We're listening to you. You're entitled to say what you'd like to say to us. To speak to the character of the village attorney, I think is terrible. And I think there's been no evidence and no question about the integrity of the village attorney.
Brian, I will respond why each of these things that were claimed to be misstatements are not misstatements. I believe I did it in my earlier presentation. I don't know whether people weren't listening or what. The site capacity regulations were incorporated in the code in 1989, and they were drafted with single-family houses in mind, not multifamily developments. Absolutely true. It didn't say they didn't apply to multifamily. It's just when they were coming, as I said, when they were coming up with the formula had single-family houses in mind, and in fact, what they exactly had in mind was Legend Hollow, the huge subdivision going in at the time. Okay. When you've got a road to a big building, is that a road or driveway? This is a misstatement. I said it's only come up a couple of times. Actually, it's never come up. So that never came up. And then about there not being a provision for driveways to multifamily buildings. That's in fact the case, which is why I explained why the building department interpreted it as a driveway. There's not a single misstatement in there, and I really take offense. Nobody has ever questioned my integrity in my 45 years of practicing law.
Anybody else that speak?
Hi, my name is Asia Track. I guess so we moved here in February, so my couple of sentences will be fast, proportional to the amount of time we spent in Irvington, I suppose. Irvington is beautiful. It's a stunning village. It's absolutely incredible the way it looks. I think that this development will have a negative effect on the appearance and of the village. It's the site capacity issue is one, but it's general. It's the appearance of the project, the way we saw the buildings presented, the sheer number of people that would populate that small space, even at the like, let's say, capacity of being a little bit less, it's a huge number of people really being jammed into this several acres. So, and definitely will change the character of Irvington. It would be a pity if it happens, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Kelly Edwards, 91 North Broadway. I want to reiterate what my husband said about the traffic, which obviously, Mayor, you're in agreement with. I take my son to school every day. The traffic is outrageous, but even not during school, there is a lot of volume on 91 North Broadway, or North Broadway, a lot of volume. That's a big issue. Two, I'm sitting in this room and I'm listening to, I've lived here for 25 years, 30 years, you know, whatever. I mean, the people in this area have lived in this village. Where's the whole life? Went to school, everything. Lived in this village, have paid our astronomical taxes, have given to this community, and what you're proposing to do will have a huge impact on what they will eventually have to do, which is to sell their properties after everything that they have given to this village, not only monetarily, but all the way around. I think that's another thing you have to consider. And the third thing is that respect is a two-way street. You want respect for her, she has to give respect to us. And the tone of the voice and the dropping of the stuff on the desk and everything else. We are the citizens of this village and we deserve respect too. And her behavior is outrageous. This is my first meeting and I am appalled at her.
Anybody else? Larry, people at home?
Yeah, Tom Thacker is on.
Hi, Tom Thacker, 14 North Buckout Street. I just want to make a personal statement first. I'm a member of the Housing Committee, and I'll be reading a very short statement from the Housing Committee. But just in terms of personal statement, I'm really, really disturbed by the tenor of the discourse tonight. It's been really, really uncivil and I think unfair. And in response to Joy Gowdy, I would remind her when she said that the board is ignoring the citizens, the board actually was elected by the citizens of this community. And if she feels, and if other people feel that the board is ignoring the citizens, they should elect other board members. As to the character of the village that a lot of people have spoken to, I think if you walk around this village and you can approach it from two different ways, from the north and the south, and walking around, everybody will notice that the character of this village is eclectic. It's not the same, and it's not all big one-family houses on nice mowed lawn. There's a variety of housing stock. There are apartments, there are small houses, there are attached houses like the one I live in. So, and communities change over time, and that's one of the things that happens. So I have a hard time hearing about the character of the community. Now I move into my official capacity as a member of the Housing Committee, and here's our statement. We support the proposed amendment to the zoning code for the multifamily office district. It allows the board to realize its original intent in the rezoning of the North Broadway parcels, which was to allow for the possibility of development of a multifamily housing project or multifamily housing projects. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide.
Hold on. Paul Kirby.
Hi, good evening. I am at 85 North Broadway. My wife and I moved in 4 years ago, and now we're raising our 2 kids in the village. We love it here. And won't repeat a lot of the concerns I've heard, but I do share the concerns with my neighbors, especially about the traffic. Just one thing that really hit home for us is through the email, the FOIL request, we saw that developer was looking to open a driveway right in front of our house, or an access road, as we would see it, right in front of our driveway, right smack in front of it. That was our biggest, we've been following the debate for the last, 2-3 years. And that was our biggest concern. I mean, the making it extra hard to get out of our driveway, the light coming in from the cars and the street lights, the noise from the cars, and the runoff would be a huge issue for us. We have a house that was built in the 1930s, and we've been trying since we moved in 4 years ago to keep the basement dry without success. So that would make it a lot worse. I know that you say, I mean, I know that the developer would say they do an environmental study, but I mean, we have Hurricane Ida, and nobody could anticipate that. With global warming, we're going to be having more storms like that. So it's very concerning to us. And I'm not an expert here. I have 2 questions. Maybe the board or the mayor could answer. The first was, we just happened to be around on Labor Day and Memorial Day weekend, and right outside of our house, we saw what looked like the apparatus to track traffic, the flow of traffic. And was that from the developer? And is that a legitimate traffic study? I mean, not an expert here, but I mean, it seems more than a coincidence they were set up on holiday weekends. Does anybody have any information on that?
I do not. I'm not aware of any traffic studies that were going on.
So the state is conducting all the time. I mean, that's one thing I've learned on that committee. The state sets up these counters everywhere all the time. So it likely had nothing to do with us. So it's likely the state.
Because there is that ongoing Route 9 project as well.
And Brian, when they do the traffic study, the secret traffic study, the planning board will tell them what days they want it.
Okay.
What they want the traffic measured, so that they're not picking a holiday, or they're not picking a date that school's out.
Okay, that just looks suspicious to us because it was the only days we saw those apparatuses. I appreciate that answer. And the other concern, a big concern of ours, I mentioned, we saw the email that the developer, Walter Balter, sent to NYS DOT, actually requesting one of their options was to put the access point to the thing right directly in front of our driveway. It also had an access road to Strawberry Lane. So is there a definition for driveway? Because it doesn't seem to us to be a driveway. The people from Strawberry Lane and whatever else connects to Strawberry Lane can use that road. That wouldn't be considered a driveway, right?
Not if it opened on if it went from Broadway to Strawberry Lane, no, then it would be a road. It wouldn't be a driveway anymore.
Because it was one way. The developer.
Well, I mean, you could call it what you want, but it only gets exempted if it's a driveway directly to the multifamily building or parking area.
Okay, so if it connects to another road, that wouldn't be a driveway.
No,
okay.
That would be.
All right, that's it. I mean, I don't want to repeat what everybody else said, but I'm strongly against changing it. I think it was debated. I've followed it for 2 years. The public knows, put in a lot of input, and the law was set, and then. It seems like it's kind of getting snuck through here at the end of August when a lot of people are away, and hopefully there's more debate on it if it's not voted against tonight. So,
well, we purposely didn't have the public hearing in August. We waited until September, and then after the schools were back in session to make sure people were around. But yes, I'm thinking there's going to probably be another night of this. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Anyone else online, Mike?
That's it.
Anyone else in person? Well, especially since Mark's not here, I definitely would like to just keep the public hearing open. Obviously, a lot to we heard a lot tonight, and we can think about what everybody said, and we'll do that, I guess. So we'll just carry the public hearing open. Carry the public hearing over until the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming, especially those that came to your first meeting tonight. Appreciate you coming out. I know it's not easy especially when you have kids that you have to drive to school to get out. So we appreciate seeing new faces as well.
Start now and make it go by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. I want to tell you, remember. And she said they're walking, remember when they walk home, it's down there. My son walks home, he won't walk home.
If you can convince her, I've lost that battle.
I'm just saying.
Just now.
He never walks to school, he often walks home.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I know.
So next up is award of contract 2022-14, Part 1, for cleaning services in Village Hall and Irvington Public Library. Looks pretty straightforward, Larry. I'll just go ahead and read it.
Yeah, please.
Whereas sealed bids were received and opened on August 10th, 2022.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I just figured it.
Both have like 20 of them down.
Whereas sealed bids were received and opened on August 10th, 2022 at 11 a.m. in Village Hall as follows. Contract number 1. Village Hall and Library Company, Absolutely Clean Maintenance and Detailing Services for $20,760. LN Pro Services LLC for $25,769. Fullerton Services Inc. for $32,976. Cleaning Services of Hudson Valley Inc. for $43,200. Paramount Services Group for $52,314.72. And Wheat Clean for $54,900. Whereas the bids were submitted, were reviewed, and it was determined that the bid from the low bidder, Absolutely Clean Maintenance and Detailing Services LLC, is in order in response to the specifications. Now therefore be it resolved to award contract 2022-14, Part 1 to Absolutely Clean Maintenance and Detailing Services LLC for an annual amount of $20,760 and authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. I'll make the motion, but I have a second.
A quick question.
Sure.
Just because it was brought up at the dinner meeting, how long is this contract for?
It'll be 1 year.
It's only a 1 year contract?
1 year, yeah. I think we have a renewal in there, but like a,
Well, because it said per year, like the cost.
yeah,
But it didn't say how long the contract was.
Yeah.
I think Greg and Ryan asked me, and I said I would ask him.
yep. It's 1 year with a 1 year renewal.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, no worries. But I'll make a motion, but I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I also think that Absolutely Clean should get bonus points for having the one cool name. Like Wheat Clean was, of course, the most expensive, right?
Should we amend the code to give extra points?
Yeah, pay an extra $500.
You don't have to run off the list, by the way. I mean, it's all been published. You can just get to the resolution part if you want to.
Okay.
Up to you.
Except that there's more cool names. Award contract 2022-14, Part 2A, 2B, and 2C for cleaning service in Irvington Town Hall Theater. Whereas sealed bids were received and opened on August 10, 2022 at 11 a.m. in Village Hall as follows. I'll skip it for Larry's recommendation. Whereas the bids were submitted and reviewed, it was determined that the bid from the low bidder, Fullerton Services Inc., is in order in response to the specifications. Now therefore be it resolved to award contract 2022-14, Part 2A, B, and C to Fullerton Services Inc. Annual amount of $27,340. Authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. This is probably the one you were asking about.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, assuming you understand it's for 1 year.
Yes.
So I can get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have no position on how many years was proper. I just want to report back to my liaison.
Award of contract 2022-14, Part 3 for cleaning services at Irvington Recreation Center and Senior Center. Whereas sealed bids were received and opened on August 10, 2022 at 11 a.m. in Village Hall. As follows, contract 3, Recreation Center and Senior Center. Whereas the bids submitted are reviewed and determined the bid from the low bidder, Fullerton Services, is in order in response to specifications. Now therefore be it resolved. The authorized contract 2022-14, Part 3 to Fullerton Services for an annual amount of $22,140. And authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. I'll make a motion if I can have a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Award of contract for Station Road Park Culvert Replacement 2022-15. You want to set this up at all, Larry?
Yeah, sure. So this is a very big project, unanticipated as a result of Hurricane Ida from last year. As you know, the Station Road Playground has been closed since then, and that lower area has been closed. And the engineers have figured out a way to repair the drainage that runs directly beneath the playground, and that's the drainage that was compromised. So the drainage that's there will be essentially abandoned in place and replaced where the splash pad is, and the splash pad will be coming out since it's probably seen the end of its useful life and then some. So the drainage will be going through where the splash pad is. And
Seems kind of ironic.
yeah, well, now that we have a nice new splash pad down at Matheson Park, this one here is not in a condition to be repaired easily.
Do you
So
have a timeframe for the work?
I don't know exactly yet. It's not an easy project. The hardest part is getting across Station Road. There's a lot of utilities there, gas main, probably plural gas mains, as well as water mains in the area because of the aqueduct that was there and the pump station, and there's historically a lot of utilities there. So I'll be able to update the board better when we have a contractor on board and we sit down with schedule. But I would say that they'll be working, into the winter on this. Hopefully not through the winter, but we'll see. We'll see.
Whereas 4 bids were received for contract 2022-15 for the Station Road Park Culvert Replacement Project as follows. Bradhurst Site Construction, $606,850. Legacy Supply LLC, $997,700. Chilton Development, $1,117,505. Contact Construction Tech, $1,119,119. Whereas the village administrator reviewed the bid submitted and determined all bids are responsive to specifications and resolved to award contract 2022-15 Station Road Park Culvert Replacement Project in the amount of $606,850. To Bradhurst Site Construction, authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. Have we worked with them before, Larry?
Yes, they actually did the Dow's Lane repair, the final repair at Dow's Lane, and they did the Harriman Road sidewalks.
Oh, perfect. Great.
So they were pretty eager to work with us again, which is good.
Excellent. I will make the motion. I'm going to second.
Second.
All in favor?
I should also say a portion of this will be paid by FEMA.
Oh, that was my second question.
The bigger issue is exactly what portion, and that's something that I work on constantly with them. But so I don't know exactly what the net result will be.
Next up is authorizing tax surcharge settlement Hudson Gray LLC. So there's nothing of note here.
No, I think everything's contained in the resolution.
Whereas petitions having been filed by Hudson Gray LLC, challenging real property tax assessments on the village of Irvington and town of Greenberg's assessment rolls with respect to subject property for 2016 to 2021 tax years, with respect to a parcel designated as section 2.880, block 33, lot 7. Property owner Hudson Gray LLC, Buckout Street, Station Road, 2016 to 2021. Whereas petitioner's actions are now pending in Supreme Court, Westchester County, and whereas the town and petitioner have reached mutually agreeable resolution, now therefore the village is authorized to effectuate a settlement commensurate with the following terms. Proposed settlements, I think I'm just going to read the bottom. The village of Irvington's share of the refund is $33,166.10. The assessments had gone from a high of $322,100 down to $2,123,700. So the details all in there. So I'll make a motion. I got a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reports of boards, standing committees and officers, trustee liaison reports. Since Mark's not here, I'm gonna go the exact opposite way. Arlene, do you have anything? Do you have pictures from your trip, maybe?
I have awesome pictures from my trip.
Can Larry put them up on the board?
Exactly. I have a presentation. Larry, you have it? So I just want to, I got a report from the water department and also from DPW. They're doing lots of maintenance and repair work. I just want to point that out. That's ongoing and they are always doing a great job. Also from the Green Policy Task Force, they wanted to thank the DPW for the work that they've been doing with food scraps and helping them to clean the bins. I think they also want people to know that that's happening every Sunday. People can go and drop food scraps during the hours of the farmers market. Also, the Green Policy Task Force has a student liaison, and they're working on trying to do sort of an event with the Nature Center. They're working with Joe Archino, and more details of that to come, but that's a process that's starting. I think they're going to trying to organize a 3K and a 5K run in the village to bring awareness to these issues. But I think it's pretty cool that it's with a high school student that's leading this effort. Yeah. That's it for me.
Mitch?
I went to a good chunk of the library meeting just like last week, and I don't usually get reports from them, but having gone to the meeting, I don't think I'm sharing anything else. Well, I was really not at all surprised. I want to sound like I'm surprised, I'm not surprised at all, but it just impressed with how, with all that's going on, how the programs are just chugging forward, how their summer reading programs were hugely successful, and they got so many kids involved, and how total circulation is basically back to where it was before COVID. A portion of it has moved online, obviously. It's very popular, the online stuff with video and books and stuff like that. But just how the library is still serving the needs of the community, and it's just, and they're always thinking about how to do that differently and trying to adjust. And that's just a really thoughtful, our library director is really great, and the board does a great job. It's just a really, I just want to give them their props because we don't usually talk about them on a meeting basis, but I can't wait for that meeting so impressed. And I also got to go to the theater meeting, and they're, obviously chomping at the bit to get the theater open, and things are moving forward with the HVAC system and things like that. But they're definitely, they really want things.
Yeah, I think they have an event coming up in end of October, like the 24th, 21st.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in my next from the mayor's desk.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a good event. Unfortunately, I think it's the same night as the Clock Tower Players annual gala.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm sorry. Are you?
There are just so many Saturdays, right?
No.
Yeah.
One- Okay, I actually have one important announcement from the police department. They're hosting a Cops and Cones event on Thursday, September 29th from 4:30 to 6 in Matheson Park. They're inviting everyone to come and end the summer with some free ice cream and a special visit from K9 Acorn of the Westchester County PD. They'll be by the playground and invite everyone to come.
What was the date?
September 29th at 4:30 to 6:30. I'll send it to you so that you can put it in your mayor's. Sending it right now.
That's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes, it's Thursday. Thursday afternoon.
So it was cones with cop right away. You came right in.
Oh, maybe you had the ice cream cones.
No way.
The judge asked me to.
He didn't want to come back through. No worries at all. It was actually perfect timing. Great. Anything else, Mitch?
No, I'm done.
As liaison to the fire department, I just want to encourage people to tune in on Wednesday night. There's a lot of work that's been done, and there's still a lot to go with these proposed renovations to the fire department. And I think the more people know, the more informed people will be. And this is a big project, and I think the village, as many people need to be on board as possible. From rec. Please note Matheson Park will be closed this Friday to prep for Oktoberfest, which is this Saturday. And again, I know Brian and I spoke about it earlier, but it starts at noon and it goes on after dark, where there'll be fireworks and lots of music. Please remember that groups of 13 or more have to get a group permit for village parks, and reservations for that can be done online, as can reservations for tennis courts. Please note that during the fall high school tennis season, court space is somewhat limited. Some fall programs coming up through rec, the Hayride in Matheson Park this year, the return of the Halloween window decorating, the Halloween parade, and the Peter Oley Turkey Trot, all coming this fall. And finally, if you'd like a tour of the Irvington Woods Park, please contact CJ Riley for information.
Great. The other thing I'll add, because we don't have another meeting, is that I think it's I'm not sure what number, maybe the 141st inspection of the fire department is on October 1st, on Saturday, October 1st. So actually, anyone can come to the actual inspection part where you look at all the trucks and people. So that's October 1st, I believe at 6 o'clock is when
I'll tell you, I have it on my.
I think the inspection starts at 6.
Yes, 6 o'clock.
Perfect. Village administrators, actually, there was why don't you do that, and I'll look for, Greg sent something from DPW.
Oh,
So I can look at
okay.
that.
So I just had two quick, brief observations. One was that we did start interviewing for the clerk treasurer position in anticipation of Brenda's retirement. So far, so good on that. We may be presenting you with some information about residency and the possibility of changing the way our residency reads. I'll explain it all in an email. Right now, that position's open to county residents. There may be it may make things more flexible if we can go beyond that a little bit. So we'll explain that to you separately and maybe deal with it in a local law. The second thing is that this Thursday, Irvington has the pleasure of hosting the Village Officials Committee meeting, which is the local Greenberg Village officials. So they'll be gathering here at the Senior Center on Thursday evening. So it's our chance to host. That's it.
So let's go back quickly. There's actually a lot of highway department road repairs that were done. You probably noticed it around town, but replaced 254 linear feet of curb and sidewalk on South Broadway, repaired a sinkhole on Meadow Way, repaired the crosswalk at the high school, repaired multiple catch basins on Riverview Road at the high school footpath, Harriman Road, Habermeyer Road, South Buckout Street, Dogwood Lane, installed emergency shutoff at the DPW complex fueling station, repaired sidewalks at 10 Grinnell, sinkhole at 13 Grinnell, replaced curb at South Buckout, South Astor Street, repaired subbase for DPW Astor Street parking lot. And then in conjunction with the Recreation and Parks Department, they repaired 3 catch basins in Scenic Hudson Park, restored curb strip adjacent to Memorial Park, and inspected multiple trees with the assistance of the Nature Center personnel. So it was a busy time, not just the regular work. So I guess summer's when they get a lot of stuff done. I assume Brenda didn't have anything she wanted you to relay tonight?
No.
Other than obviously the treasurer interviews.
Exactly. And actually, there is one other item I should mention, that realizing now that we haven't met in public since the end of August. We do have 2 new charging stations, electric vehicle charging stations that are online. Each of the locations have 2 ports available. One is at the Field Point Broadway parking lot, and the other is in Scenic Hudson Park. And they're both being used, and that is in addition to the Aqueduct parking lot and the library. And we have more planned. So.
Great. And taxes are due as well, right? Were they doing the 15th, or they do?
Which taxes?
The town taxes, town and school. I think they're
It
due
would
at the
be,
end of the month, right?
it should be school, and it should be the end of the month.
Yeah, I think it's September 30.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
not that it's really related to us, but I think, Brenda, I think taxes. Village Attorney's report? Public comment? Review of action items? I didn't have anything.
No, just a little note about the mayor's desk and announcing the theater event.
I will make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.